The moment the mom and the baby sat in the back seat, the baby started crying hysterically. It was almost as if he was like in pain. The mom couldn't even understand why he was crying so much. She kept apologizing and saying that he wasn't like this a minute ago. She doesn't understand why he's crying so much. And the baby just kept complaining, saying that he could see something on the floor, like at the floor of the car. He kept pointing down to the floor, saying that there was something really scary that was down there.
Welcome to Eerie, Enigma, where the night attracts spooky clips from TikTok, where the mystery acts, chilling tales of haunting, shadows dance inside. Join us as we explore the paranormal fright. In the stillness of the night, whispers call your name.
Subscribe, like, and share. Good evening, wanderers of the Eerie. I'm Eerie. Tonight's stories don't take place in haunted houses or abandoned hospitals or deep in the woods. They happen in the back seat of a car, with the doors locked, and the destination already set. These are stories from Uber and Lyft drivers and passengers who realize too late. Not every ride is meant to be completed.
The person who submitted the story is still haunted by this experience. I suggest that you stay until the end because it has a crazy twist. Robert had been a taxi driver for a few years. He would typically only work at night because the whole taxi thing was sort of like a side gig for him. One night, just like any normal night, he picked up a woman that was standing on the side of the road. This is not going to go where you think it's going to go. The woman sat in the back seat and she was super quiet and just kind of kept to herself. She gave him the address and he went ahead and headed to that destination. The whole drive there, the woman just kind of kept to herself, didn't really say much. Once Robert got to the destination, it was like a grocery store. The woman gets out, says thank you, and she walks off. As Robert's making his way back into the city to see who else he can pick up, he starts to hear the faint sounds of a baby crying. Robert pulls over to try to figure out where the crying baby's coming from. In his mind, he's thinking that maybe somebody left a baby abandoned, like on the bushes somewhere, like on the side of the road. So he's like looking out the window, trying to figure out where the sound is coming from until he realizes that the sound is actually coming from inside his car, from the back seat. He quickly gets out, goes to the back seat and sees a box. It's like a very decent sized box wrapped in plastic. He is frantic, thinking that maybe somebody had wrapped a baby in a box and had left it in his back seat. He rips the box open when he sees it's a dead bird, like a dead, rotted bird. It was literally covered in maggots. He, of course, freaks out and throws the box, and then the crying stops. That whole experience completely freaked him out because he had no idea like what it even meant. So he decided to take a couple days off from driving his taxi at night. When he finally decided to go back to driving his taxi, one of his first customers was a mom and a baby. The baby was probably about 3 years old. From the moment the mom and the baby sat in the back seat, the baby started crying hysterically. It was almost as if he was like in pain. The mom couldn't even understand why he was crying so much. She kept apologizing and saying that he wasn't like this a minute ago. She doesn't understand why he's crying so much. And the baby just kept complaining, saying that he could see something on the floor, like at the floor of the car. He kept pointing down to the floor, saying that there was something really scary that was down there. Of course, when they were checking, look, there was nothing scary on the floor of the car, so they didn't understand why he kept crying. Finally, they got to the destination of where the woman was going. The woman gets out and the baby automatically stops crying the minute it gets out of the car. That definitely threw Robert off a little bit, but it wasn't until his next customer sat in the back seat. It was an older woman, probably like in her late 60s. The moment she sat in the back seat, she looked at Robert and said, I don't know if you believe in any of this, but your car has very negative energy. Like I can feel it. And she goes and shows him like her arm and she's like, look, I have goosebumps. Like your car has something really, really dark in it. She suggests for him to either get the car cleansed or to get rid of it altogether because whatever dark energy was in that car wanted him. Being that the whole dead bird thing had just happened a couple days earlier, the crying baby, and now this woman telling him about the dark energy in his car, he took it seriously. After he dropped her off, he decided that he was done for the night. He says as he was driving home, he felt like at any moment he was gonna crash. Like he can't explain it. He just feels like at any moment he was going to lose control of the car and he was going to crash. Thankfully, he made it home, but the next day he did go to a priest and tell them the situation. The priest went ahead and confirmed exactly what the lady had told him. The priest told him, you do in fact have a very dark entity in your car. So the priest went out there and started to spray holy water and started to like pray over the car. When they started to spray the holy water on the car, they could hear the crying baby. The baby crying came back. The more holy water they threw on the car, the louder and louder the crying got, but it never stopped. The priest then told Robert, listen, you're gonna have to just get rid of this car. Like, I was not able to get rid of whatever was in the car. You're gonna have to just get rid of it. Robert decided to take it to a junkyard and sold the car for parts. Like, he didn't want anyone else to ever drive it, so he just sold the parts of the car and was hoping that that was going to be the end of it. Not long after he did that, he received a phone call from his ex-wife. She tells him, "It doesn't matter that you got rid of the car. That thing is attached to you now." So essentially, they had gone to a very nasty divorce, and her retaliation was to send the first woman to do brujeria on him. That was a dead bird. That was something that was left there for him. Desperate, Robert decided to turn to the church again, and for months he prayed and confessed and worked with the priests, and they pretty much did anything they possibly could to try to get rid of whatever this thing was that was now attached to him. It was a really long process. Like, a lot of crazy dark things happened to him while he was trying to get rid of this thing, but eventually it did finally lift off of him. But even now, still now, this happened years ago, there are some nights where if he happens to be home alone, he can swear to hear the faint crying of that baby.
Tonight's email gets a little bit wild, and this one is from Marissa in Baltimore, Maryland, and this is her story. This one morning about 8 months ago, I had an early flight to catch and ordered an Uber for 4:50 in the morning. I was standing outside my building with my suitcase when a black sedan pulled up and stopped right in front of me. The driver rolled the window down and said, "Ride for Marissa?" like they always say to me, and I said yes and got in the car. The car started moving immediately after I shut the door. There was no greeting, no confirmation screen turned towards me. I remember thinking he was just one of those quiet drivers. About a minute into the ride, something just felt off to me. So I opened up the Uber app to check the route, and the trip hadn't even started yet. There was no driver assigned, no active ride, just a screen like I was still waiting for my ride. I asked him if he had the airport run, and he said, "Yeah, you're good." I asked which airport. He said the exact terminal number. I hadn't even selected the terminal yet. I was planning to do that once the ride officially started. I told myself I was overthinking it. It was early in the morning, I was tired, and people jumped to conclusions. Then he said, "You can relax, we're ahead of schedule." I hadn't even said anything about my schedule though. A few minutes later, I noticed we weren't following the usual route to the airport. It wasn't the wrong way exactly, just different, like side streets instead of the main road. When I asked him about it, he said, "This way avoids traffic and cameras." I laughed automatically like people do when they're uncomfortable, but he didn't laugh back. We stopped at a red light and I refreshed my app again. That's when I got the notification. It said, "Your driver has arrived." It was a different name and a different car, parked right outside my apartment. My stomach dropped instantly and my heart started to race. I asked the driver to pull over right then and there, and he sighed, like I was being difficult, and he said, "You don't want to miss your flight, do you?" I told him I was getting out. He slowed down but didn't fully come to a stop. I opened the door while the car was still rolling and stepped out on the curb with my bag. He floored it and drove away quickly. I ordered another Uber and stood there shaking until they arrived. I made it to the airport fine, and I took the flight, and I tried to forget the whole thing even happened. When the plane landed, I checked my email. There wasn't a receipt from Uber. Trip complete, pick up my apartment, drop off the airport. The driver's name I didn't even recognize, but the car description matched the very first car. The trip duration was longer than the drive should have been though. There was also a stop listed halfway through the ride. An address. My address. Timestamped 30 minutes after I had already been dropped off by the real Uber. I contacted Uber support. They refunded my ride and said it was a system error. They couldn't explain how a trip completed without being active on my phone or why the car description matched. Uber closed the ticket for me, and I have been using Lyft now ever since this happened to me. Yeah, wow, that should not even be able to happen. Ride sharing is crazy to me, but if y'all think that one was bad, the ones I can't post on TikTok are in the link in my bio. But let me know what you guys think of Marissa's story, and until next time.
I called an Uber late at night. After hanging out with my friends, I double-checked the license plate, and the car matched, so I got in. The driver didn't say a word, not even hey or good evening, just nodded and started driving. So kind of weird vibe, but whatever. It was late. Maybe he was tired. So about 5 minutes in, I realized he wasn't taking the usual route. I said, hey, GPS is telling me to go the other way. He didn't respond, just kept driving. That's when I looked at the app and realized the ride had ended. Like ended. The app said I was already dropped off, but I was still in a car. I told him to pull over. No answer. So I raised my voice. Pull over. Right now, or I'm calling the cops. He looked at me in the mirror for the first time and said, you weren't supposed to notice. I bailed out at the red light, full on sprinted. When I reported it to the Uber, they told me that driver was never assigned to me. And no one knows how he got my trip info in the first place. After I reported that ride to Uber, the one where the app ended mid-trip and the destination changed, they told me something that stuck with me. There's no record of that driver in our system. They said the plate didn't match any of their partners. No logs, no trip history, just nothing. So that should have been the end of it. But a few nights later, after I think around 10:41 p.m., I got a push notification. Your driver is approaching. Problem is, I never ordered a ride. So I checked the app. Nothing. No requests, no active trip. Then I look out the window. Same exact car, same plate, sitting around the corner. Because my place, you can see the corner part of it. But I watched it for 3 minutes. It didn't move. Then it slowly pulled off, like it knew I was watching. I don't know why, but I called Uber again, asked if maybe my account got hacked or something. They said there was no request made, no vehicle near my location on their records. I said, so how did I get a driver notification? They said that's not possible unless you ordered a ride. But I didn't. And I haven't used Uber since. Now every time I leave the house at night, I check for that car first. Because somehow he still has my location.
Okay, you guys, this is one of the scariest Uber stories I've genuinely ever read. Kayla from Austin sent this one in. So she said she ordered an Uber after a late shift. Nothing crazy, it was like 9 o'clock. She got the notification, your driver Mark is arriving in a white Camry. Cool. The Camry pulls up, matching plates, matching name. She gets in the backseat like normal, but immediately notices something is kind of off. The driver didn't greet her, not even a hey. He just stares at the road with both hands locked on the wheel. She's like, hi, are you Mark? And he just nods once, doesn't even say anything. Whatever, she's tired, they start driving. A few minutes in, she hears a voice whisper from the empty seat beside her, do you see me? She flips around. There is nobody in the car. She thinks maybe she imagined it, she's tired, until she hears it again. This time, from behind her headrest. Don't get in the front seat. She leans forward and quietly says, sir, is there supposed to be someone else in this ride? The driver doesn't answer. He just grips the wheel tighter. Her phone buzzes. It's a new notification from Uber. Your driver is arriving now, with a picture of Mark. It's a white Camry. And she realizes she's not in the right car. She looks up, and the man driving, he is not the man in the photo. Before she can speak, he locks the doors, and then he takes the next exit, one that leads away from the city. Follow me for part 2, because how she gets out of this doesn't even feel real. She stays completely still, pretending she didn't notice the doors locked. She texts her friend her location, but the signal is bad. Messages won't send on the highway. The whispering voice in the backseat comes back, but this time it's urgent. Left door when he slows down. She doesn't know if she's losing her mind or if something is actually trying to help her, but she listens. The man takes a sharp right onto a dark service road. No houses, no lights, nothing. He's breathing hard, like he's excited. Kayla reaches slowly for the door handle. He sees her in the rearview mirror and says, "Don't do that." She freezes. Her heart is pounding. He keeps driving deeper into nowhere. Then suddenly the car slows for a huge pothole in the road. That same whisper says, "Now." Kayla yanks the door open, throws herself out of the moving car, hits the gravel, scrapes her arms and knees. She hears the brakes slam behind her. She runs into the trees, doesn't look back. The man gets out of the car and starts calling out, "Come back, you're not hurt, I'll take you home." She keeps running until she sees headlights, another car, and she sprints straight into the road, waving both arms. It's a couple driving home who stops and calls 911 immediately for her. Police found the Camry abandoned. The driver vanished. Here's the part that gives me chills though, because when she checked her Uber app later, there was a notification she'd never seen before. "Your previous driver has been removed due to suspicious activity. Thank you for keeping our community safe." But she never reported it. She never reported it on the app. The app had no record at all of the ride she escaped from.
We are picking a passenger called Betty up from the Fort Lincoln Cemetery. So we are at a cemetery and we have a passenger to pick up. I'm picking this person called Betty up. And it's over there. And it's a cemetery. And there's no one over here. So we'll find out what's going on here. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but let's go find out what's going on over here. It's kind of it's kind of crazy. Well, my app says I'm here. Let's try calling them again.
This Uber call is being recorded. Please leave your message.
So I ended up canceling the ride because there's nobody over here. No one over here.
My Uber driver warned me not to go out tonight. So look, I don't know if I'm tripping or I don't know if this really happened last night, but this will happen. So it's the 4th of July right now, but last night was the 3rd, so I was outside. I left this little rooftop party around like 11:30, and I called me an Uber because I was getting a little saucy. So I ain't checked the driver's name or nothing. I just got in. And she was bad, she had a little puff, whatever, and, she was cute, little caramel skin, whatever. She looked good. So I get in the car and she looked back. She like, "You still smell like the same cologne." So I kind of laugh it off. I'm like, okay, like, "Do I know you?" Whatever. And she smiled. She like, "Not yet, but I've driven you before." So I checked the app. Like, it didn't say she was like a repeat driver for me or nothing like that. So I just shrugged it off. I'm thinking maybe she just flirting, whatever. But that's when the vibe just like shifted. She turned the music down and she said, "You shouldn't be out tomorrow night." And I'm like, okay, why? It's the 4th of July. She said, "That's exactly why. The noise makes it easy to miss the real danger." So now I'm sitting back and I'm in the back seat like, what? Like, I don't really know what to say to that. Then she gonna say, "You ever notice how your phone acts weird around this time every year, around the fireworks?" And I'm like, "No." And she said, "You will if you make it past midnight." I'm like, "Make it past midnight?" I'm like, "Lady, take me to the crib. Like, what are you talking about?" Look, she pull up in front of my crib, but she don't unlock the door. Like, she just like staring out the windshield. And it's the child lock on, so I can't get out the car. Then she go, "Don't answer the door if someone knocks on the door tomorrow night, even if she looks like me." And then the door just unlocked. Doom. Yo, I slowly just get out the car and I just start walking up to the door. And I remember I'm dangling with the keys, whatever, but then I just seen like the lights turn off, whatever. So I look back and she gone. Like, I didn't even hear the car pull off or nothing. And then I checked my trip history, no receipt, no driver. Like, it made it look like I had never took a Uber trip. Y'all, I don't know who she was, what she was, But I'm probably not going outside tonight. I'm out right now, but I'm probably not going out tonight. I don't know, chat. What y'all think? What y'all think, chat? What y'all think actually happened? My Uber driver warned me not to go out tonight, part 2. So y'all, it's about 4:30 p.m. where I'm at right now, and I had to come tell y'all this like while I was still like fresh. So if you've been watching what's going on, I had this Uber ride. She gave me this warning, and she told me about the 4th of July. And as y'all know, I was on live, and I was out. I went out anyway. I'm like, no, I'm not staying here. So last night I came in, and nothing happened. You know, I thought I was in the clear. But earlier today, y'all, so I was just in the backyard, whatever, just chilling, you know, had my little water, you know, and, just felt peaceful outside. Heard the birds chirping, it's great. But then I hear my front door unlock, you know, the front door, and the little noise that it make, and it's just me here. It's just me by myself. So I didn't run. I just like kind of stood up, and I didn't hear the door open. I just heard like the clicking of like the front door, like unlock. So I walk around and my heart like kind of beating fast. The door is closed, but like now the door was like unlocked. So I check the cameras, the little Ring camera, nothing. I go back inside. I walk through every room just trying to like stay calm, and the house is like still like silent. Then I hear like this little creaking like coming up the stairs, like somebody was coming out of the bedroom. So I call out, I'm like, yo, nobody answers. But then this is the part that got me. So I go upstairs, and on my bed is like one of my shirts, like perfectly folded. This is the thing. I didn't leave it like that. I just tossed it there before I went out, and it was just like, you know, kind of crumbled up, wrinkled, whatever. But now it's like folded, like perfectly folded on the bed. Y'all, like whoever was in here, like wasn't trying to hide. Like they were like preparing. I mean, I don't know if nobody was in here for sure, but that's what I feel like. That's when it hit me. She never said what would happen on the 4th. She just said, like, I shouldn't go out. Look, maybe it was just a distraction, and, like, maybe the real danger of whatever it is, like, starts, like, tonight or now. And I don't think this was just a warning anymore. I feel like that was more so, like, a reminder. I don't know, chat. Let me know something, chat. Maybe I should throw a party or something, like, so it's 1,000 people. And it's not just, no. I don't know, chat. Let me know something.
After all of that, just call it a night and get some snacks and watch a movie. Let's keep these stories going, Eerie fam.
So when I first moved back to my parents' house last year, I pretty much started over, so I didn't have a job. So until I found one, I decided to do Uber Eats for a little bit, right? So this one particular day, I'm doing orders, right? I pick up this one order, and I go over to this house. Now, where I live, there are some backcountry roads, right? And on these roads, typically you don't get a signal. But I'm very familiar with the area, so usually I'm okay. So this one house I was going to, it showed on the map that it was down this road, and it was the only house on the road. So as soon as I turn onto this fucking road, I get no signal. But again, I'm like, okay, it's the only house on the road. Shouldn't be too hard to find. So first time going down the road, I pass it. Second time I'm going back, I notice the mailbox is on the ground, but the house number matches what address I have. So I'm like, no big deal, cool. So I pull in, but it's like a half gravel, half dirt driveway, all fucked up. So I only pull partially in because I didn't want my car to get stuck. And then I start to walk up the driveway. Now in the instructions, it says give it to the person, like meet the person at the door. So I'm walking up this gravel driveway. It's kind of difficult because it's a little hilly also. As I start to get to the house, I start to notice weird shit. So it's a very big house. I'm sure it was nice at one point. And it's surrounded by trees. There's no neighbors, no one else on this road but me. So first of all, there's no cars in the driveway, but who knows? But then I noticed that the windows on the top floor were busted out. Like not removed, but like busted out. Like part of the broken glass was still there. And so I stop, and I guess I'm just kind of staring up at the house, and then I hear a voice, and it sounded like it was coming from inside, like where the living room area kind of is. And it was a woman, and she was like, oh, hang on, I'll be right there. Sorry, I'll be right there. So I'm like, okay. Again, I was supposed to meet the person at the door, so I'm like, okay, maybe they're renovating the house. Who knows? So I start to get a little bit closer, but at this point, I'm still being skeptical of the house because I'm just a little confused. Until I get to the front porch and I notice there's no stairs. It looks like they had been ripped off the front porch. And at that moment when I noticed those stairs, I know I just stopped dead in my track. And at that exact moment, I hear that voice again. And she was like, almost there. Hang on 1 second. I fucking booked it. It was like something went off in my brain. Oh, God, I swear I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Something went off in my brain. And it was just like, you have to leave this area right now. Like, you have to go. So I just quickly turned around, booked it back to my car. I was so afraid. And so I get in, locked the doors, took the food with me because I was too afraid to go up to the front porch. So I pull up my Uber Eats app and my signal started working again. I was not at the right house at all. I was like 2 streets over from the right house. Just never driven my car so fucking fast to get out of a situation. And I did take it to the correct spot. I took it to the right person and I asked them, has that ever happened to them where they, put in their address and it took them to another location? And they were like, no, that's really weird that happened. And I ended up looking up the house when I got home and it was actually condemned. Like it was scheduled to be condemned later on the year. I didn't do Uber Eats too much longer after.
One night at 3 in the morning, I took an Uber ride with my friend Stephanie to our hotel room. And the moment I got into this Uber ride, I realized that the Uber driver kept on staring at me through the rear mirror. But I didn't really pay no mind to it because I was really tired. So we got to our place, and as we're about to open the door and say our goodbyes, she turns around and she's like, baby, can I tell you something? I'm like, yes, ma'am. The moment you got into the car, I just felt like this evil followed you. I feel like demons are following you, baby. And I didn't know how to react towards that. I just stayed quiet. But then she said, baby, can I pray for you? I'm like, yes, ma'am. She starts praying for me. I didn't close my eyes. I just stared at her while she was praying. While she's praying, her and my friend, they both just start rotting right in front of me. And I'm talking about their skin just started decaying and their eyes just started falling out of their eye socket. The whole car started smelling like rotting flesh, and it looked like they started turning into demons. So while this is happening, I'm just letting her pray, but as she's done with her prayer, I looked at her and I'm like, ma'am, can I tell you something? And she's like, yes, baby. I'm like, the whole time you were praying for me, both of y'all were just rotting right in front of me. And the car started smelling like rotting flesh. And she's like, baby, you need to get cleansed, baby. You need to take a salt bath water right now that you get into your hotel room. You need to pray to God. And that really stuck with me. It was an odd experience, I won't lie. But I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that moment. It was just very odd.
Another story time. The time I met a vampire. I just decided to record a video. You have been asking me about the story, so here it goes. I'm a rideshare driver in New Orleans. So, of course, I encounter all types of people from all walks of life. So, one particular ride was very interesting. Now, this was a couple of years ago when this occurred. For the most part, I remember what she said. I do not remember what she looked like. I'm riding, pick up this passenger, and I remember our conversation. And the craziest thing is I can remember her voice. And even as I'm telling you this, I can hear her voice in my head. And I can even picture like this part of her face around her mouth, her lips. I can see them moving as she's talking to me. And I remember her hand being on my shoulder. And I remember what it felt like when she touched me. A lot of other stuff, was just completely erased. So I pick her up and I do know that we were having conversation. I talked to many of my passengers. And she is telling me I have really great energy. So I told her thank you. She asked me some things about myself, nothing too private, nothing with too many details. So, I just kind of gave her some general info. And I remember her telling me that she wasn't from here. That I do remember. And then she proceeds to tell me how much she loved New Orleans, how much she loved being there, living there, et cetera, et cetera. I do recall asking her where she was from originally, and all she told me was that she was from very far away. And it's funny again because I'm hearing her voice in my head as this is weird. And I've never shared this story with anybody, so TikTok, you're getting it first. um, she touched my shoulder at one point, and this is where things got really strange. She touched my shoulder, and I felt like I just froze. And even as I'm talking to you right now, I can distinctly remember that feeling of feeling frozen. And my hands were on the wheel because I could see my hands on the wheel. The car wasn't moving. And being frozen in that moment, I hear her voice, but not like I'm here talking to you. In my head, I hear her voice telling me, don't be scared, that she's not going to harm me. And then after that, we're moving again. And I remember kind of turning and looking like that. And she was sitting back in the seat and her hands were on her lap. And I said, what did you do to me? And she just smiled. And she says, I just leached some of your energy. And I said, what? She said, I just leached some of your energy. She said, this is going to sound crazy, but I can assure you it's true. I'm a vampire. She said, but I'm not the type of vampire that you've been taught about in books and movies. She said, those types of vampires exist, but they're very rare these days. I'm a vampire that feeds off of energy. And all I have to do is touch you to get it. She said, New Orleans is a great place for her and her kind to exist. And that there are quite a few members of their tribe, is what she called them. I think I remember this part of our conversation so significantly because I believe when she touched me, she implanted something in my mind, whether you want to call it a memory or a thought or an idea. But she gave me something of herself, probably, to where I can recall this portion of the interaction between us. Maybe she knew that eventually I would share the story with others and therefore maybe make it a little bit more acceptable for them to start, for her and her members to start presenting themselves. I don't know. I don't know why she even chose me for this. But she told me that there are vampires that survive off of good energy. There are vampires that survive off of bad energy. There are vampires that survive off of sexual energy. And there are vampires that survive off of blood. And New Orleans is the only place in the world where you can find members of all four of those vampire tribes. Maybe she wanted me to remember this portion of it as a warning. I don't know. But I know she wasn't lying just because of how I felt. And even now, it's crazy because I still feel like her hand is on my shoulder, which makes me wonder when she touched me, did she create some type of psychic connection between the two of us? I don't know, but I think I need to end this. Anyway, I don't remember where I dropped her off at. I don't even remember dropping her off. The next thing I remember doing clearly was being in a part of town that I didn't remember how I even got there. And it was like 2 hours later. And I was just in a parking lot. Just in a parking lot. And I know it sounds weird, y'all. I probably shouldn't even record this. I probably shouldn't even be talking. I probably should not even be talking about this. I shouldn't.
I think my ex was an energy vampire. But seriously, that was a creepy story. Let's check out the next one.
I don't know how to start this TikTok, people. I do not. But I'm here at QT. I got a little spooked because I don't know. I keep thinking about it and I'm trying to think of ways like, okay, This person really did get in my car. This person was in my car. It's not a ghost. Da 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 da. So I got to Scottsdale. I picked up somebody in Scottsdale, drove them all the way to Mesa. It was like, I think it was 13 miles. So I dropped them off in Mesa. They added someone to my queue. And then when I went to the next destination, the address that I went to, I stopped there. I pushed arrive, and like I'm still shaking a little bit. So I stopped at the address that they wanted me to stop. I pushed arrive. I waited for a couple of minutes, and then I noticed that a text message came through Lyft. So, and this person said, hey, sorry, I put the wrong address in. Can you pick me up at this location? It's not that far. So I looked at my little screen on my car, and on Lyft you have like the little yellow person standing, like if they're where they're at and stuff. So if you can't get to their location, it'll show you like they're over here on this side, or So I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, it's not that far from here. It's like probably like a good, not even half a mile, probably like less than that. Probably like it was the next street over down the next light. So text him back. I say, hey, I'll come down, just wait there. So I turn around, I go over to the little person, and I'm driving down. And usually when you pull into the apartments, the Lyft will tell you to pull into the apartments, but the Lyft address was still at the place that I had stopped. So I was just following the little person. So as I'm coming up, I see the little person on the sidewalk as I'm coming up, and I'm like, oh, okay, he should be there. Because there was like trees and it was kind of dark. And so I locked my door, made sure, I locked my door and everything. And I make sure it's the right person, because I'll roll the window down and tell them like, hey, is this you? So I get there, and I'm waiting, and the yellow person is on the sidewalk on my little screen thing on my car. And I'm waiting, and I text them. I'm like, hey, I'm here. They never responded, but the little yellow person was still there. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of freaky. I'm like, maybe this person got mugged and they dropped his phone. I was not trying to get out of the car. I was not going to do that. And so I feel so out of breath. But so anyways, I waited, and the 5 minutes was up, because Lyft only gives you 5 minutes to wait, and then you can drop the ride. So I'm like, usually when the 5 minutes is up, Lyft will tell you to call the person to see if they still need the ride. So that's what I did. I called the person, they didn't answer. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to kill the ride. So right before I was going to kill the ride, somebody knocked on my window, on this side back here. And so I looked over, I rolled the window down, and I said, are you this person? And it was a young guy. It was a young guy on the picture. It looked like a young guy. It was the same young guy, the same picture. Hair just looked a little different. And I said, hey, are you so-and-so? And he said, yeah. And I said, where are you going to? And he told me the address. So I verified with my little app thingy that he was going to the address. So I was like, oh, okay. So I unlocked the door. He got in. And keep in mind, we're going from Mesa all the way to the south side of Phoenix. Okay. So that was like about, I think it said 15-mile ride, or was it 19? But anyways, so we're driving. He doesn't say much to me. I'm listening to my music, whatever. I didn't think he was drunk. There was nothing wrong with him. Like, he wasn't drunk, nothing. He just got in the car. He got on his phone, drove all the way down to where I had to drop him off at. So I dropped him off there. So when I dropped him off at his house, right, I pulled up to his house, and the sidewalk from here to the house is quite a walk to get to his house. So I dropped him off at the sidewalk. He gets out. And once he gets out, I looked in my rearview mirror. I saw him walk across. Okay, I saw him walk across. And I happened to turn back like this. I turned back like this, and he was gone. Nothing. Nobody. I looked everywhere. And when I say this, I get chills, like literally. I looked, and I'm like, where did he go? So I got scared. I made sure I locked the door. I'm looking. nothing. And this house is like at the very end of the parkway, very end. So like there's not, and the south side, the houses are kind of spread out. Like if you were, they're kind of spread out. So I'm like, okay, that was freaky. I'm like, I was like, no way. What if somebody comes out, jumps on me? Nope, I'm leaving. I'm going. So I pushed, drop off, and I took off. I turned back around and I left. But as I turned around and started going, the light, my light hit everything. And I'm looking and I'm like, there is nobody. Nobody. I don't know where this kid went. I really don't. And it really freaked me out. Like, my mouth is dry just talking about this. It really freaked me out. And I'm like, there's no possible way for him to walk by and to make sure I turned to see him. And he was gone. Nothing. And the walk from the sidewalk to his house was quite a distance. I'm going to say, like, you see where that guy's sitting right there? That's probably how far his house was to get, because I was not pulling in all the way into that house. But yeah, and I was just like really freaking out. But I didn't really have time to think at the time because they had added somebody to my queue and I had to go pick the next person up. So I picked up the next person and I'm waiting for this lady to come out. And she gets in the car and, I was just thinking about it. I don't know. So I had to drop her off. I dropped her off at the airport and I came straight to QT because I had to think about this. I really do. I don't know. I'm trying to tell myself it was a person, an actual person in the car that got off. But my explanation is, like, did he sprint to his house? I don't know. I don't know. Because, look, I look and I did this. How are you going to be gone that fast and get into the house? How? That's what's crazy. You know what the funny thing is? For the past 2 days, I keep telling myself, go buy yourself sage and put it in the car. And every time you put a person in this vehicle, just light a little bit here and there every once in a while. And I've been putting it out for 2 days. So today, I got to go buy one. I have to buy one. I really hope it was a person because that was weird. Weird. Oh, and then when I got to QT, because I had to go to the restroom and stuff like that, I came back into the car still thinking about it. I looked at the payment. I'm like, maybe I didn't get paid for this. Maybe it was a ghost and maybe I was tripping. I don't know. But I got paid for it. $11. Not $11. $21. Sorry. $21. But how? How's he going to get into his house? I turn to make sure he walked past by to get into his house. Seconds. Not even that long. Where did he go? Where? There was no trees, nothing. It was just the gate up to his driveway to his house. And there's no way he could have went to his house that fast. Scary. I don't know.
This is stop. You stop right here. I get it.
I had to end on something lighter. Because listen, if a ghost remembers their slushy and leaves a tip, 5 stars. Well, that's it for tonight's episode, but remember, if your ride feels wrong, trust that feeling. Until next time, stay eerie.